Hey, good morning, friends. Curtis Robinson with Conway Toe to Toe and Toe to Toe Firearms and Training, and I wanted to share a few things with you. Of course, you might notice as I pan around and you guys see different diplomas on my wall and different, pictures, that wall hangings that I have and so forth, including, goals and things on my board. This is my private office, and of course, not all of these are martial arts in nature. Some of these, again, these are my college diplomas. It's interesting that we all in America, we really like being able to achieve things. Achievement is important to us, okay? So I'm going to kind of go through a few things with you guys, and I've made a few notes, so you might see me glance away from my phone where I'm doing this video so that we can kind of stay on track, and I don't want to ramble too much. It's pretty easy to do that. Guys, what I will tell you is that I've noticed some things in the martial arts community in particular, that I want to share with you. So if you're interested in some sage advice, some things that I've observed as a full-time instructor, this is what I do now full-time. I'm retired from the United States Army. I'm retired from running 3 other clinical counseling practices where I help people with anxiety, depression, grief, and trauma. I'm now doing my favorite pastime, my favorite hobby, and I've always done martial arts, but this is the first time I've had a chance to do it at full-time capacity. So here's the thing. Guys, I've noticed some incredibly interesting things on social media when it comes to the martial arts. I find it super ironic because I don't really notice racism in any martial arts program I've ever been affiliated with. Guys, I've traveled all over the world in the United States Army. I've also been all over the United States. I've lived in different places, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Hawaii, for example. I've been around. And I don't notice any racism whatsoever in the martial arts. It's interesting. Maybe there is. I'm just not seeing it. If you get on the mat, you are my equal, so to speak. I want to train with you. I'm going to need to use your body to make throws, to punch, to kick. You're going to use my body to make throws, to punch, to kick, arm locks, chokes, the whole 9 yards. Perhaps there's a few of these schools out there that there is a problem with racism. Again, I just haven't seen it, and I've been across the United States and, of course, around the world in martial arts. I've seen a lot. That's not the interesting part. That should be the standard for all people everywhere, just to not be racist in nature. But again, that's not really my point. It is kind of about color. In fact, it's completely about color. You're going to find this bizarre, but it's not the color of skin that I'm talking about. It has everything to do with the color of the belt the individual wears in other schools. So when we kind of think about our belt rank, isn't it important to us, what our accomplishments are? Guys, first let me establish that the belt rank system in the United States is 100% subjective. A karate system and a taekwondo system and a judo system and a jiu-jitsu system, they all have their own method to their madness. How will I measure progress? Okay, kind of keep that in mind. In fact, if I look back to my high school days, even in college, wouldn't we kind of read a chapter, discuss it, and then get a test on it the last day of the week, usually on Friday? Sometimes it was a long chapter. You'd go 2 weeks, and then you'd get a test. Kind of think about that. What do we do in martial arts? Guys, there's really no standard. I have no idea how Kung Fu measures their progress with a different color sash. I just don't know. I can tell an individual who's trained for less than a year by their lack of quality, or maybe their lack of flexibility. They just don't have the technique. In addition, I can tell an individual who's trained over 10 years by the quality of their technique. And I talk about Kung Fu because I don't know much about it overall. I'm not a Kung Fu guy. There could be a few who have a natural instinct for martial arts and a genetic predisposition for high performance. And when they walk in, they're pretty good on day one. We see that. They're all the way on the far end of the tail in the bell curve. There could be a few who have trained their entire lives but never managed to progress. They weren't able to progress due to some lack of instinct, an inability to comprehend, maybe even a physical disability. I've trained people that were blind. I've trained people that were deaf. I've trained people that one kid had a hunting accident as a child and was paralyzed on the entire right side of his body. He could walk, mostly dragging the right leg, but we taught him the best way we could, and he stayed with us for over a decade. Guys, if we look at the bell curve and we take those two extremes out, these are the people that are naturally gifted and the people who are disabled or maybe learning disabled or just physically disabled, and we look at the main body, the people who are generally training in martial arts, we can see really that main body kind of picture. And I want to talk about those people for the time being. I think we can all agree that most systems, karate, taekwondo, even judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, have been Americanized. And when I say Americanized, Americans like to hit milestones. They want to measure progress and move to the next step. It's just the way that we're raised. It's cultural. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but people want to feel accomplished. Again, look at all the diplomas and stuff in my office. None of that really is going to give you a clear picture of, am I a good person? And am I a good instructor? Maybe I've done a lot of things, but doesn't necessarily mean I'm a good businessman, for example. The belt rank system has changed significantly from the time of Masoyama and Gichin Funakoshi. These are, the Japanese guys that we think about most of the time in martial arts. And again, Funakoshi came to America to train people. I never trained with Funakoshi. I'm not a Goju-Ryu kind of a guy. But the bottom line is there used to be two belts. There was a white belt. These are the new guys. And there was the black belt. That was the instructor. That's kind of the bottom line. You were always kind of the white belt until you were a black belt. Now, they introduced a brown belt at some point, which is kind of an intermediate rank. And it may have been the senpai. This is kind of the assistant instructor. It was an honor to get this other rank. But really, it was kind of white, brown, black for a long time. Now we've got white, yellow, orange, blue, green, purple. We also have sometimes hash marks or striped belts in between each one. It's interesting to me that people think that that's what's important. I'm accomplished because I got my white belt with the first stripe. It's a great thing for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the same for everybody. Oh, well, I've got my blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Well, that's a great thing for you. The problem that I see is that since they're not standardized, you can't really compare one school to another. You definitely can't compare karate to kung fu or Brazilian jiu-jitsu to judo. They're just different programs. Don't feel bad about that. I guess the old school Japanese systems didn't care much about how they ranked against their peers unless it was, I'm able to beat him. So in my head, I might say, I'm a senior student or I'm better trained than he is. And that's reasonable. There are people that probably can, I'm 53 years old now. There are probably people out there that can, maybe they could beat me. I don't know. I don't bump into a lot of people that are able to easily defeat me in kickboxing or jiu-jitsu. These are the two main things that I am teaching now. Doesn't mean I can't be beaten. It just means that I've got the experience, the training, the physical capability to hold my own, which is a good thing. That's pretty true for measurement. You can say, what is my skill compared to this guy's skill? But that's not what we do. Let's go back to the thing with this problem with color, the color disparity. It's odd. Again, it's completely non-standardized. There are karate systems and taekwondo systems that I have seen that will promote a little kid to black belt. When I say a little kid, I'm not talking about a 14 or 15-year-old kid. I'm talking like an 8-year-old can get a black belt. To me, that's bizarre. I'm not against that. You guys go do you. I'm not judging you, and it's not what I do. So I'm not going to compare my kids, who will never have a black belt until they're, a 18-year-old person. I just don't test people under age 18 for black belt. I just don't. I just chose not to. It's not standardized. They can. I don't. It's just a choice. On the other hand, we've got some schools that require maybe a decade to make black belt. In some systems, the most respected rank might not even be black belt. Could be a red belt, for example. In particular, again, most of these Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools withhold testing until the individual has a certain amount of time. I don't know that anybody's really tracking how many hours you have or how many classes you've made. Maybe you are. Maybe you're that particular. But most people say, well, you started January of 2024, the earliest you could get a black belt is going to be January of 2034, roughly a 10-year wait. If that's your system and it's just time, I think we can all agree that there will be people that will make better progress in 10 years and some people that won't make as good a progress and some people that won't progress much at all for whatever reason. And thus, the time function should be one characteristic, but probably not the only characteristic. And I got to be honest, I can't tell you why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructors, and I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I'm not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor, so to speak. I don't have a Gracie diploma on my wall. But I don't know why they wait so long, and I don't care. I think they can wait so long. But again, that's not what I'm talking about. There's a disparity. There's an anger, even an animosity if a student from another school sees a student they think they could probably perform better or outfight, and they're like, oh, well, he's it's a laughing stock. It's a joke. This is a McDojo kind of a group. They're not quality because they've got people that have a different rank than I have, and it just seems ridiculous. You can judge however you want what we do or what another school does, but again, you're basing that exclusively on your disappointment in your system. Think about that. I don't mean that to be ugly, but what if, for example, you didn't have that? It'd be very different. We're going to get into that in a minute. Let's get back to this thing. So when you kind of let's look business-wise, because I'm a businessman. I'm in this to ultimately teach and train people, and I have to do something else to do that. I have to be profitable or else I go broke, right? That's just reasonable. If you look up the statistics, you'll find that less than 2% of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu students even make a black belt. Furthermore, less than 1% of those black belts decide to teach. Now they get their black belt and they're really good. That's super good. And I take nothing away from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructors or their schools. They do a great job, and I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I do a lot of it. By the way, for those that are curious, our group has trained with the lineage of Rickson Gracie. I personally trained with Royce Gracie, with Frank Shamrock, and so forth. And again, yeah, everybody's going to say, well, one seminar doesn't make you their student. No, I've trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, several days a week, several hours per day with great instructors in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu environment where that is what we did, that is what we taught the whole class. It wasn't necessarily a mixed martial arts program. So when you're looking at business, how are there so many Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools out there if we know it takes 10 years to get a black belt, only 2% even stay long enough to get a black belt, and less than 1% of those are even willing to be an instructor? Think about it. The most logical answer is guys like me who love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and run either a mixed martial arts program, and maybe they're a blue belt or something in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but they're instructing. They're out there, they're teaching the good Jiu-Jitsu. They're doing it. So if you've got a blue belt who's actually teaching, there's a lot of schools out there that are doing this. What is black belt? The black belt it's not a function of being ready to be an instructor. Apparently blue belt. So the whole system is completely skewed from what everybody else does. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against that. What I am saying is we shouldn't judge Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu badly against that. Now there is one good reason, very logical, why I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools that do nothing but competition, that's what they want to do, they want to compete. Why would you wait a long, long time to promote somebody? Well, you go to a competition, there's a weight requirement and a rank requirement for you to get slotted in the bracket. Now, if you got this guy over here who's a blue belt and it took him 5 years to become a blue belt, and you got another guy over here who got his blue belt in 2 years, which one of those two blue belts has probably got an advantage? Okay? I think that's pretty important. So you're kind of sandbagging so you can win the tournament. Don't get me wrong. People have been doing that since the beginning of tournaments. They'll go in, they'll say that they're a white belt, they're really a blue belt, so they can win the white belt division. There are people that are brown belts or purple belts that'll go in there, they'll say they're a blue belt, so they can win the blue belt division. Look, if that's how you want to win, that's fine with me. I really don't care. I can tell you that how many classes that you've had could be a better way to measure that. So for example, let's say that you need, you must have a minimum of 20 hours on the mat. That's about 3 months of training if you're doing 2 classes a week, 1 hour per class. You're looking at about 3 months. If you miss 1 or 2 classes, you still hit the 20-ish mark. You want to test every 90 days? Well, that's what you get. You get 20 hours worth of training. Let's say, for example, no, we want 5 times that much. We want 100 hours of training before somebody can test. Wow, fair enough. But after the 100 hours, what happens? They may or may not pass the test. They should pass the test of flying colors, I think, but it just depends. Let's move on. Don't throw rotten tomatoes at me if you're a competitor and you have sandbagged on purpose so you could win. Wrestlers do this all the time by cutting weight. They'll cut weight. So do, by the way, kickboxers. They'll cut weight, weigh in the night before, then they pound the weight back on. I would love it if everybody would fight at their comfortable weight. It's more healthy to do so, and it's a lot more fair competition. Let's get past what's fair. Fair is just fantasy land. There's nothing fair in the world. All right. Guys, the foundation for this entire discussion is subjectivity and belt rank. So here's the real problem that I see. There's no racism, so to speak, in any school where I've ever trained. There is an enormous amount of envy for belt rank. Are you one of those who complain that someone else isn't worthy of the rank that they wear? I have seen this in my school or in other schools. People are like, I can't believe that they gave that guy a black belt. He's terrible. I can't believe they gave that lady, a blue belt. She's terrible. There's a ton of that. It doesn't happen much, but it happens. Guess where it happens every single day? And I mean this, every single day. On social media. It's interesting that, okay, if we're in our own school, and let's say that I'm a 180-pound guy, and I'm a blue belt, and I'm fighting a 110-pound woman, and she's a blue belt, well, I obviously have a weight advantage. Let's say, for example, that not only am I a 180-pound blue belt, maybe I'm fighting another 180-pound blue belt, but I've got 4 years of wrestling before I even started Jiu-Jitsu. I'm going to have an advantage. Doesn't all that make sense? So the rank system doesn't matter. When I say doesn't matter, it's good for milestoning to see your own progress. But it doesn't matter when you're looking at somebody else and you're like, oh, I'm better than that guy. Their whole school is a joke because they don't know how to test, or they just giving away rank, whatever. Here's the thing that I tell everybody. If you come into my school and you're wearing a black belt for any reason, for any style or any kind of subject matter where you feel like you're a black belt in expertise, maybe you just gave yourself a black belt. Within about 10 minutes, we're going to know your level of skill and your level of quality. And we don't care if you are really a white belt in quality and performance, but you're wearing a black, we don't care. And here's why we don't care. We're going to fight you at your level. If I'm a black belt and somebody comes in here wearing another black belt, I'm going to think I need to be up in, 3rd, 4th, 5th gear. Once I realize that they're terrible, I kind of gear down. There's no sense in me just demolishing them to humiliate them. They're going to get all the humiliation they need when they fight a white belt and they get beat. Here is the truth. I've seen it in my school and in other schools, almost every school I've ever been to. There are people that are black belts and they're getting crushed by blue belts or purple belts or brown belts. They're getting crushed because they're not jiu-jitsu guys. They got a black belt in karate or something, so they've never done jiu-jitsu. They're essentially a white belt. Guys, here's the thing. When you look at somebody's belt rank, you don't know their journey. You don't know really what's going on with them, particularly on social media. So it's really a distraction. Let's think about that. Imagine for a moment that you are completely blind. And I don't mean to use that in any kind of offensive way, but let's just say we couldn't see. Maybe we have a blindfold on. How would you know the skill level of the person that you're doing wrestling with, or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or Judo? Of course, karate, kickboxing, taekwondo, it's different. But let's say a grappling art, where the sensitivity, touching people, grabbing people, throwing people, you're going to feel what they can do. You're going to know because of their skill level will be in their balance. It will be in their stance. It will be in their base. It will be in their technical mastery, their ability to chain combinations together, counter your throws, counter your submissions, those kinds of things, right? If you're completely blind, it doesn't matter what their belt rank is, right? Because you'll know. Isn't that the real test? All right, now, let's not blind everybody. Let's not wish that on anybody. Let's say that we were all colorblind by choice. When I say colorblind, we look at the belt and we don't make an assessment. Maybe that person has legitimately trained for 10 years. And I've only trained in that art for 1 year. And I just have a physical advantage. I'm faster, or I'm just more combative, more aggressive. Maybe I'm heavier, who knows what. But how are you going to treat that human being when you meet them? Hopefully with dignity and respect. But there's not that on social media. Am I really whining and complaining that social media is just full of trolls? No, that's not what I'm doing. What I'm trying to say is that, are you wasting your time measuring yourself against somebody else you don't even know, that you don't train with, because you're envious? That's awful. That's a waste of time. It's even shameful. Why not give everyone a reasonable amount of respect right up until maybe they don't deserve your respect? Maybe they are trolling you, or maybe they come in and they challenge your school. Okay, you want to come in and you want to fight the best of the best that we have to offer, you could win. That would be really still disrespectful that you came and invaded a school and you challenged everybody and you beat everybody. That would be disrespectful. But imagine if you went and you legitimately were humble and you legitimately beat everyone in the school. How does that make you feel? Well, if you're a narcissist, right, probably makes you feel pretty good. You feel pretty dominant. I'm not against all the narcissists out there doing what they do. It's what you do. What I am saying is, you've given nothing back. You've made no contribution, and you've gained nothing in your own life other than to say, well, I beat everybody in this school. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that there are UFC fighters that have very minimal kickboxing training, and they get in an MMA fight, and they're able to grapple their way to success. I mean, these are the Mark Coleman's, for example, the Dan Severn's, for example, very minimal striking ability. Great wrestlers, every one of them, or judo players. I think Dan Severn has black belt in judo, and he's a national champion in wrestling. And I look at him, and I'm just like, he's a great grappler, but he can't fight. He can't punch and kick. Well, I'm judging him on a skill he hasn't put a lot of time in. Why would I waste my time doing that? Instead, why not look at Dan Severn and go, he might be the greatest wrestler of all time. Maybe. Let's give people credit for what they have trained in and where they're good at. Okay, I'll give you another example. I am a big fan of a variety of great strikers, right? Pat Smith is one, and Maury Smith is another one. These are old school strikers. They learned just enough jiu-jitsu to survive on the ground, and they got back up and they went back to striking. Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's a guy, really, he's a Taekwondo guy. He's a guy that knows how to kick. And then he got better in MMA by working on his boxing. Then he got better in MMA by working on his grappling. We should give him credit for the work that he did, not, oh, well, you know what, you can't beat, Floyd Mayweather in a boxing match. Well, he could stand his own against Floyd Mayweather in a boxing match, even though he's not a boxer. Pretty cool. You give him credit where credit is due. So, guys, the final question is always, so what? So what? Guys, can't we just ignore all the haters? I see these guys on my feed all the time, and they're not necessarily commenting on the technique that we're showing. And I got 3 YouTube channels, one for kickboxing, one for jiu-jitsu, one for firearms and other deadly weapons, which includes stick and knife fighting. I'm trying to push this information out. It's a legacy that I want to leave behind for my kids, my grandkids, my students. And people are always coming on there, and they're always saying something funny, has nothing to do with what I'm sharing, right? So I wear a Fitbit to track my fitness. And the first thing people notice is, oh my God, he's wearing a watch while he's training. Well, if you're a traditional karate guy or traditional judo guy, that's really awful. You've been told that can never happen. You just can't do it. Fair enough. Guess what? I'm not in a traditional karate school. I don't run a traditional karate school. I don't run a traditional judo school, although I have trained with great judo practitioners. My instructor in judo, I trained in judo for several years, was a guy named Hayashi in El Paso, a brilliant instructor. I did not wear a watch in his class. This is my school. And they're like, oh, you could injure somebody with your watch. If you're worried about my watch, don't let me armbar you, okay? If you're worried about my watch, don't let me throw you, right? Because comparatively speaking, I'm going to demolish you with a shoulder throw or with an arm lock. And guess what? My watch didn't touch you, right? So again, why say that? What it is somebody sees something that they don't understand, that they don't like, and they troll on that. It's a distraction. Why not instead, let's look at the video and say, number one, why am I even watching this video? Don't watch garbage. If I'm giving you garbage, don't watch it. But if you're watching my video, look for value in technique. Is there something you've never seen before? If there's something you have seen before, is the quality good? And am I making the points that you make? Your instructing ability will get better. Your technical ability will get better. And your innovation, the ability to think and create outside the box, come up with new techniques, that will get better as you watch videos, for example. Guess what won't get you better? Commenting on my watch. Who gives a crap? Okay, let's talk about the second thing. I'm in a non-traditional program. I'm a self-defense instructor teaching a self-defense program in two major venues, kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, okay? Now, technically that makes me a mixed martial arts instructor. The bottom line is that I don't run a traditional Muay Thai school, although I am a Muay Thai style instructor and fighter. That is how I fight. I'm not fighting like a karate guy. I'm not fighting like a taekwondo guy. I'm not fighting like a boxer. I fight like a Muay Thai striker. That is what I modeled my training after, and that is who I've trained with. I've looked at the best martial artists, and some of these guys are great karate guys. I can name a dozen of them off, or great kickboxers, European kickboxers. Andy Hoof, for example. Big fan of Dennis Alexio, a great American kickboxer. Big fan of Stan the Man Longinaitis. These are old school kickboxers. None of that matters. What matters is, what are you going to do and how are you going to do it, and what are you teaching and how good are your students getting? I do that, but I also like to wear wrestling shoes in kickboxing. So people are like, dude, what's up with the shoes? You're wearing shoes. The shoes are on the mat. And I just have to laugh. I'm like, wrestlers wear shoes on the mat. By the way, I wear the shoes in my jiu-jitsu program as well. That freaks out all the judo guys and some of the jiu-jitsu guys. Wrestlers wear shoes. Sambo, right, which is basically kind of a Russian form of judo. Sambo, they wear shoes, okay? A lot of taekwondo guys, they wear shoes. Savat, they wear shoes, right? Look at Bas Rutten, right, in his Pancrase days. He's hitting flat with the palms, right, to the head, and he's punching to the body, and he's kicking, and he's a great kick boxer in Pancrase rules, and he's wearing boots, like these old school wrestling boots. And when he kicks people, they go down. I mean, he's ruptured people's liver kicking them. He kicks so hard, and people are like, Curtis, why are you wearing wrestling shoes? Look at other people who wear shoes. It's not the end of the world. And my answer is always very simple. What have shoes done since the beginning of time? Shoes protect the feet, okay? We're going to wear boxing gloves so that when we hit somebody, we don't break our hand. The boxing glove doesn't protect the face. If I punch somebody with a boxing glove, doesn't it bloody the nose? Can I cut the eye? Can't I knock someone unconscious if I hit him on the bean, right? If I hit him right on the button. The glove protects the hand. It's what the shoe does. Now people are like, hey, I noticed you're doing kickboxing and you're not wearing shin guards. When I fight, I wear the shin guards. When I train, I'm not wearing the shin guards. And sometimes I don't wear the shin guards because I also do body hardening and I like to bang my shins up on other people, right? I only do that in certain occasions. But people are like, oh my God, you're not wearing the shin guards. Did you like the kick? Did you like the lesson that I gave? That's kind of my whole point. Guys, here's the thing. Are you so distracted by your own jealousy, envy, or frustration, whatever it is, that you're worried about my watch, my shoes, or the belt rank of the students in my class? By the way, nobody's really commenting on my belt rank because they can see that I have the requisite skills and background to even wear a black belt. and I wear a black belt with my jiu-jitsu uniform. Then there's all these people that are just complaining for one reason or another, and, oh, you guys are a Mech Dojo and all this. You know, even if I was a Mech Dojo, by the way, the definition of a Mech Dojo has nothing to do really with, rank. What it really has to do with is that we'll get people in and we teach them garbage and then we charge them for it. I.e., your Big Mac is not healthy food and yet you're paying for it and people are coming by the billions, right? You ever see the big McDonald's sign that says over 1 billion served? Here's kind of the thing. If it's a McDojo, they are teaching garbage and getting people to pay for it. Has nothing to do with the belt ranking system. Look at the quality, right? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think we teach a quality program, and I challenge you. I love for you, watch a few of our jiu-jitsu videos, watch a few of our kickboxing videos, and then avoid commenting on my watch or my wrestling shoes. Avoid commenting on, oh, well, there's a kid, oh my gosh, and he, is wearing a purple belt, kind of a thing. How is that possible? Well, we don't promote kids to black belt, but we do promote kids up through, brown belt. That's a thing. Over 10 years of time, starting at age 5 to age 15, you should probably make brown belt in that 10 years. I mean, that just makes sense. By the way, just for everybody who's like, no, Curtis, you're just wrong. Hoist Gracie was teaching as a teenager. I think he was 14 when he started teaching. He started training, I think, at age 8. From age 8 to age 14, he got enough skill that he was teaching. He was an instructor at age 14. Think about that. Okay. Guys, it's always up to you to try to recognize value of the training rather than focus on the rank. You're distracted. You're completely oblivious to the value in the video that you're watching, which tells me one of two things. Either one, you're just a troll. Plenty of those guys out there. I welcome you to troll my page, and here's why. Google doesn't care if you make a good comment or a bad comment. Any comment pushes the algorithm. I mean, it's a massive shove forward for us, so we want you to comment. So I'm going to play a game with you every single time you troll my page. First of all, I'm going to answer you with a little bit of mockery. Some snide comments will be coming your way. Second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give you enough bait to lure you into a longer conversation because I want you to help me push the algorithm. I want you guys to do that. And thank you very much for those of you who are pushing the channel by legitimately commenting, legitimately liking and sharing, and ultimately subscribing to our channel. 32 minutes and 40 seconds have passed since I started this video because I had so much on my mind. If you lasted to the end, I want you to type in #finisher. I bet very few people will do that because let's be honest, what's the main problem with social media? We'll scroll, we'll watch for what, 30 seconds? Maybe 10 seconds? Scientifically speaking, most researchers believe that mankind now has the attention span of a goldfish. We'll watch something for a minute and then we swim away. We go do something else. That's sad. So if you made it to this 33-minute mark, God bless you. Thank you so much. I love you guys. You guys are the ones that are helping our business to do great and other businesses as well. For those of you that will never get to the end of this video, you won't know what you've missed. The sage advice that I promised you is this. Focus on those things which are great. For me, yours could be different. For me, God. God is great. I believe in him. Okay? I am a religious person. Family. Family is great. I believe in the unity of the family. We should stick together. We should support each other. Even if we don't agree, even if we want to bust some heads in the family, you work together, you stick together, you back each other up the best that you can. And martial arts is great. Martial arts, the function of teaching a self-defense program, a taekwondo program, karate program, kickboxing program, jiu-jitsu program, judo program, a wrestling program, a boxing program. I also teach stick and knife. Heck, we sell firearms here, man. I teach firearms. I teach as many things as I can to help people legitimately get better at self-defense because life, liberty, and happiness are what this country was founded on. Martial arts, training in martial arts is a great thing. You should do that. Don't waste your time looking at belt rank or somebody's shoes or somebody's watch. Those things are inconsequential. And if you stay to that point, you're a champion. You're resilient, you're focused, you're determined. Keep training, train hard. I hope you like my videos. God bless you.